This is the induction for the Global Industrial Sewing Machine. After you've viewed this instruction video, you will book in with a Fashion Technical Officer for a face-to-face practical assessment. Only once you have passed the assessment and been signed off on our records will you be able to use this machine. Global Industrial Sewing Machines are a lock-stitch machine which only does a straight stitch, so there is no instruction manual with this machine. We have 13 global machines in the department with 11 machines for you to book. Your machine will plug into a main socket close by, so check it is switched on before you begin. You will have electricity to the machine, but the machine is not activated until you turn the machine on using the green on button at the front of the machine. Never turn your machine on until you are ready to sew. First, we're going to look at how to wind your bobbin thread and how to insert it and its bobbin case into the machine. Your bobbin type is specific to the global, as is the bobbin case. You must make sure you have the correct ones. The bobbin case and bobbin are slightly smaller than the other Bernina sewing machine ones we use in fashion. There are two types of bobbins for the global machines, ones with holes in and some without. The ones with holes are the newer global machine models, which are the 103Ds. We will try to make sure the right bobbins are with the right machine. The older globals, which are the 303Ds, they take both types of bobbins. If you are unsure, always check with the technical officer for advice. When using an industrial sewing machine, you must always use thread that is 100% polyester, which is much stronger than domestic machine thread. We use Gutermann thread in the department, but there are other brands. The choice is up to you, but be aware of cheap imitations. Place your thread on one of the top spindles here. You have two thread spools, but it doesn't matter which one you choose. Now feed your thread up through the guide hole at the top bar from the back. The mechanism for winding your bobbin thread is at the side of your machine, here. Place the bobbin on this small spindle. You may find it is quite a tight fit, but do not worry, this is normal. At the back of the mechanism, you will see a metal bar with a hole in it. Feed the thread from left side through the hole and place it around the back of the tension discs so it fits in between the plates from the back to the front. Wind the thread from the top around the bobbin a few times and leave a small tail for you to hang on to. Press the metal lever here backwards. This will engage the machine so the bobbin will wind. There are no large guards across the needle, so you must take extreme care when you are operating this machine that your hand or your fingers or any objects such as your lanyard are nowhere near the needle. Always check that your chair leg is also not caught under the foot plate. You must not turn your machine on until you are sure the plate is clear. Now you're ready to start, turn your machine on by pressing the green on button. The on-off buttons are at the front of the machine. Hold on to the end of the thread just to help with the start of the winding process. You will know the machine is on as the motor makes a noise and the table vibrates slightly. To operate this machine, you should have a large footplate here. Put your foot in the middle of the footplate and gently and evenly press down, keeping your foot pressure even and not jumpy. Be aware that industrial sewing machines are a lot faster than a domestic machine, but remember, you are in control. If you feel at any time your machine is getting too fast, take your foot off the pedal. You have control of the machine, it does not have control of you. As the machine begins to wind the thread, just hold on to it for a few seconds until the bobbin takes the thread, then let go. Now you should be winding evenly and filling the bobbin with thread. If your control of the machine is too uneven, the thread will not wind evenly and so will not be usable. You need a nice even wind like this. Once you have finished filling your bobbin, take your foot off the foot pedal and stop the machine using the red off button at the front of the machine. Release the bobbin by pulling the metal lever at the front forwards and snip your thread. Pull the bobbin off the spindle. Do not worry if it is stiff. Give it a firm pull, you will not break the machine. Never leave your machine running when you are not sewing. Always turn it off. Be aware that some of the global machines will hold their electrical charge in the motor, even if you turn the machine off at the mains plug. If you can still hear the motor running, the machine will still operate. Take extreme care not to press down on the footplate and accidentally make the machine go. To safely expel the charge from the machine in a controlled manner, making sure there is nothing in the way of the needle, press down on the footplate to expel the charge. The machine will eventually grind to a halt. To insert your bobbin into the bobbin case, first make sure that the thread is coming from the top of the bobbin anti-clockwise. Place it into the case and pull the thread through a small slit here, pulling towards the left so the thread goes under the tension clip. If you are careful, you can check that it is correct by holding the bobbin case by the thread over your hand. If it stays in place, you have done it correctly. If it falls out, then do it again. To insert the bobbin case into the machine, you will open the metal plate by the needle, about 3 centimetres. This is the view of the bobbin housing. Do not force it open any more than that. If it is very loose, do not pull it off the machine completely. Ask the technical officer to fix it if you have pulled it off. The housing for the bobbin case is at the side of the machine here. Inserting the bobbin case into the machine may take practice to get it right. You will have to insert it using your left hand. Place the thread over the back of your hand to keep it from getting caught in the machine. Keeping the lever at the back of the bobbin case open, place your middle finger by the bobbin to prevent it from coming out of the bobbin case. You will notice there is a large gap at the top of the bobbin case, and you should make sure this is facing up when you insert the case. Taking the bobbin case under the machine, there is a metal spike sticking out from the housing, and you need to line up the bobbin case parallel to this, so it will go into the centre hole of the bobbin. Do not let go of the lever until the bobbin case is in place, checking that the gap is facing up. You will know it is right, as it should make a satisfactory clunk noise and fit in the space perfectly. It may take a few goes to get this right if you have not done this before. Once the bobbin is in place, we now need to thread up the machine. Take the thread and remove it from the bobbin winding mechanism, but leave it in place above the machine. These lock-stitch machines thread up in a very different way than a domestic sewing machine. So to help you remember the threading process, there is a picture close by for you to follow. So take your thread and from the back pass it through the hole on the top spindle here. There is a small tension disc just above the hole, so now feed the thread around from the right side and over the top of the disc. Continue down to a small bar with either 3 or 2 holes in it. If it has 3 holes and lying horizontal, start at the right side hole and go up and down evenly through the holes with the thread. If the bar is sticking up vertically and has 2 holes, then pass the thread through the top hole from the right and out and down the second hole. Below there is another set of tension discs, so take the thread around on the right side, down around the disc, making sure the thread goes in between those discs, and then up to a hook over the black metal spring at the top. Your thread should now go down and under a large metal hook first, before you take it through the smaller guide above the discs. Above the guide is the needle arm, and there is a hole at the top under the guard. Thread through from the right side to the left. Continue the thread to the guide on the left side and down to be caught into the end of another guide here at the top of the needle. Just below is a small hole at the very top of the needle, so take the thread through this hole from front to back. Your thread will now go through the eye of the needle, but from the side, so it's left through to right. To raise the bobbin thread through to the top of the machine, you need to take hold of the top thread in your left hand. By rotating the big wheel on the right of the machine towards you, take the needle down into the machine. Keep rotating the wheel until the needle returns back up and reaches its top position. You should now be able to pull through the bobbin thread by pulling on the top thread. If it seems stuck, you have either not rotated the needle into its uppermost position, or you have incorrectly housed your bobbin case. If this is the case, you need to check your bobbin case position and that you have not got the thread caught underneath. You may find it easier to collect the bobbin thread by raising the pressure foot. On an industrial machine, you raise the pressure foot using your knee against the pressure pad under the machine here. By firmly pushing the pad to the right, the pressure foot will rise. You will need to hold the pad in place with your knee to keep the pressure foot up, and to lower the pressure foot, just release the pressure on the pad. Once both threads are through to the top of the machine, place them through the slit in your pressure foot and guide them around to the back of the foot. Now you can close the metal plate by the side of the needle and release the pressure foot down. Your machine should now be correctly threaded up. Let's now look at what the global machine settings are. As this machine only does straight stitch, there are not many settings to alter. As there are no accessory pressure feet to change, there is no accessory box like the Bobbin machines. There are only 2 settings you can alter on this machine, and that's the stitch length and how to sew backwards. If you need to change the size of your stitch length on this machine, you have a round dial here with numbers on it. By rotating the dial, you can increase the number and so increase the stitch length. 0 is no stitch length and 5 is the longest. These numbers are measured in millimetres. The average stitch length for a straight stitch is 2.5 to 3 millimetres. Line up the number to the dot at the top above this dial. If you want to decrease the number, then to rotate the dial, you will need to depress the bar under the dial slightly to allow the dial to move. When you begin sewing and when you finish sewing, you need to fix your stitches so they do not come undone. In order to do that, you sew backwards and forwards over the stitches. To make this machine sew backwards, you press the bar here as far down as it goes. Now hold it in position whilst you sew, do not let go. When you want to sew forwards again, then release the bar back. You will find this is a quick motion, and you will get used to using this as one fluid motion when sewing. The large wheel at the side of the machine is connected to the needle arm, and as you saw before, allows you to move the needle in and out of the machine. There is an arrow on the front of the machine by this wheel, which indicates which way you should always move the wheel. In this case, you will rotate towards you, not away from you. On some machines, this wheel may seem very stiff. As long as your motor is not going and you can't hear it, you can release the wheel by depressing your foot slightly on the foot plate. This will allow you to move the wheel easily. Finally, you have a light on your machine. Some are on arms, which you can adjust to help you see more clearly when sewing, and others are attached to the machine above the needle sewing position. Most will automatically come on when the machine is turned on. Be extra careful when operating this machine. Keep your fingers and thumbs away from the needle. You should only guide your fabric through the machine from the front. Do not place your hands inside the machine. If you feel the machine is running away with you, take your foot off the pedal. Remember, you are in control of this machine. It is not in control of you. Place your fabric under your pressure foot. You will see some lines along the side of the foot, which are there to help you keep your sewing lines straight. They will be measured in centimetres, so if you are using a 1 centimetre seam allowance, then use this line to guide your fabric. Now you are ready to sew, turn your machine on. Slowly and evenly put pressure on the foot plate and begin to sew. Take your time and get used to the speed of the machine. It is you that is controlling the speed. You can make the machine go slowly and faster with the pressure you put through the foot plate. Practice sewing in straight lines first and getting used to sewing backwards and forwards. When you have finished sewing, turn your machine off. Bring the pressure foot up and make sure the needle is out of the fabric to its highest point. Pull your fabric to one side and snip your threads. Remember, always turn your machine off when you have finished sewing.